Hey everyone, just a quick video recapping the setup for our exercise 2 that we're currently working on, the word pairs assignment. I wanted to just walk through this kind of step-by-step process. I know we went through getting your file set up, your page size and everything, but I figured I'd just put this in here just in case. As we know, if we go to Illustrator and we go to File, New, or New File here, I'll go in and select my choices. I always want to make sure that my my measurements are set to, my values basically are set to inches and not, sometimes it'll default to points, maybe pixels. So just make sure you're set to inches and then go, 6 by 6. We're not going to worry about bleeds or margins or anything right now because we're kind of freestyling it. As long as we have a 6 by 6 square at the end of the day, we're going to be fine. And then if you want to have multiple artboards in there to work within one file, that's fine. I'll put 2 in there right now. You can make as many as you want. If you wanted to change the setting, like the space between the artboards or, do anything else, you could go into that more settings section. I'm not too worried about that right now. And so I can probably go in here and name my file, exercise, let's see, that's 106. And then I would put, my last name perhaps. Exercise 2, and maybe if I'm doing a few of them, I might put V1 for myself, and then I'll create that, and we'll see that I get my weird things popping up, my 2 pages here. And if you want to know kind of what where things are on your page in terms of distance within the page, you can go to View, Show Rulers, which is just Command R on the Mac. Maybe Control R on a Windows thing. And so you have the, if you wanted to pull guides to measure anything, you can, just click and drag on your rulers there. And then if you wanted to take the guides off, you can go to View, Guides, Hide Guides. The quickest way to do that is just Command semicolon. That's the one that I get into. I use that one a lot. I just, go on and off with the guides if I want them. And then obviously we got to consider our type and making sure we're putting our type on the on the page, which by now after exercise 1, I assume most of you know how to do. But if you go onto your type character here, your type tool, if you just go to Window and then you can go down to Type if you don't see it and just hit Character. It's Command T, which is the quickest way to put it in there. I just select my tool. I can just click on the page for now, and if I want to put, I think we were working with plus minus before, that's fine. And with Illustrator, you're always clicking on and clicking off of things. When I write that word plus minus, I can't just like click off of here. Otherwise, I keep making new type boxes. I have to go to the black arrow to deselect. And so I have my words here. I'm going to click and drag holding Shift just to scale it up to whatever size I want. I'm not too worried about exact sizes or anything here right now because at the end of the day, it's going to be whatever size works best for the layout. But we know one of our constraints is using Futura Bold, so you're going to want to make sure that you do that. Go to Futura here. I have Futura Bold in here. If you don't, you can find Futura PT on the Adobe Creative Cloud the fonts, Adobe Fonts site. So you can go to fonts.adobe.com and then you got to make sure you're all signed in and everything. Okay, you're signed into your actual account. And then you would just look up Futura and you'll see Futura PT here. And you can go down here, I would add the whole family. Like when you're logged in, if you add the whole family, it's gonna add all of these weights for you. And then when you open up Illustrator, you might have to restart the program, but when you open that up, you'll have it in your Illustrator. It's that easy. As long as you're signed in and you hit add font, you should be able to add the font to your Adobe library. And there are a lot of really great fonts in the Adobe library. So you could really do most of your work in that library and have access to whatever you need. You're going to be using the bold weight, so just make sure you have that in here. And here it is in the Futura PT. Okay, so that's just logging in, finding your font by the search function, and then you can add the individual fonts. So you can add just Futura PT Bold, or you can click up here, add the whole family, and it'll add all 22 fonts, including 8 condensed styles for you. So that's cool. So I'm back in Illustrator. I have my type in here. One thing I was saying is once I know I want it, I got the weight set up, and if I want to leave it all lowercase, for example, or if I want to, we talked about, maybe changing it. You can go to type, change case. That's just a quick way to make a change, and you can make that all caps, or you can make it sentence case if you want. You can do anything you want. It's going to really be based on your ideas, what's going to suit your ideas the best. So I won't necessarily work to recreate the idea that we talked about in class or anything, but this is just more getting a sense of, okay, once I have my type set up here, I want to go to type, create, especially if I want to modify my type, I'm going to go to type, create outlines. So I've now made that type into vector art. It's not editable anymore as type, so just be aware of that. Something I do, not that you would need to worry about it too much, I get used to always having things off to the side. I always save little things for myself. Off to the side. Not that it's hard to write plus minus again, but if this is a symbol or a logo or something else I'm working with, or I'm doing multiple iterations, I always save things so I don't have to, redo them. And so here I have this. I'm going to go to type, create outlines. It's no longer editable. It's now vector art. Now it groups things automatically. For it's the whole 2 words are grouped. You can go to object, ungroup, and then you can select these individually. Which is cool because then you can modify them. The thing is, just make sure that if you're going to move a word, you want to have the whole word together. You click and drag to select everything, and then you can move it around. If you want to keep that word together, you could just go to Object Group, Command G, and keep that grouped, and so that would be fine. So I have my minus here. You can do a lot of different things in terms of modification. Again, let's not worry about the concept of minus or plus right now. This is just more to have in here as type. You might have, if you do have a letter with an I, you see that even though it's in outlines, I can't just select the tittle there. I mean, I could. Let me see if that lets me move it. Oh, look at that. Okay, that's a nice little discovery. So by clicking into the clip mode here, because this is a compound path. So same thing, you remember when we were using the masks in exercise 1, to be able to select one of the items, not the mask, but the item inside the mask, you had to double click. This, because it is a compound path, allows me to do the same thing. And then I can move that and do whatever I want with it. Now I can't use it as a modifying element. It's gonna probably just let me, I'm sure I could scale it and do that kind of thing, but I'm limited in what I can do with that. But when I click off of there, it does keep it there, which is cool. So now the only problem is that when I go to select it again, it's still connected. Okay, so even though I was able to select it, move it, and even modify it, it doesn't really help me at the end of the day because it's still going to be coupled with that stem of the I. One thing I could do, because it is what's called a compound path, and don't worry if you don't know what that means right now. If I go to Object, Compound Path, and I go to Release, this isn't always the case, but sometimes it will happen to where you can now just select that piece and it works on its own. So I can, do whatever I want with this. I can copy it. I can, work with it in many different ways. I could even use it as a modifying element if I wanted to. If I wanted to take this and, take a little circular chunk out of here, I could use what's called my Pathfinder tool. Now, one thing I would typically do is go to my window swatches, and I might make that a different color just so I know where it sits. See, now I know it's on the back. So if I want to have something be a modifying element using my Pathfinder tool in this situation, I'm going to bring that to the front if I want to use this feature called minus front. So if I have the dot there and the stem, and I use my minus front, it creates kind of this little divot in there. I can do that with any of my pieces of type. I can use the S, put it on top of here. Again, I got to make sure to know it's on the top. Select my U here, go to minus front, and it takes out a chunk like that. Now, again, I'm just doing random things. You want to have an idea as to why you want to do these things. So the main thing is that, remember, you can only use type. You're not bringing in any symbols, any pictures, or any color. It's all black and white. But as long as it's type, you can, like we talked about in class, you can do whatever you want with it. You can repeat it, use it as textural elements, overlap it, get great density with it, make it very sparse, whatever you want to do. You can also cut it up If you have your tool here, I'm sorry, your word here, if you go under your, if you don't see some tools here, you can go under these little three dots and you'll kind of navigate through here and you can see some additional tools. You'll see a tool here. This is your knife tool. That's kind of a nice one to use if you wanted to cut some things up in here. If you have your knife tool selected and you just want to, kind of, I don't know, slice it up in here. Maybe you want to slice this little piece, or any number of things happening here. Now what you've done is you've made these into individual pieces. Okay, we're going to ungroup that and just have these individual pieces selected. So if you wanted to, we looked at some of those examples like deconstruct or vibrations, you can do anything you want to do with these now. And again, one obvious one would be search and destroy, and it's all destroyed, right? Which, okay, that could be fine. Is that the strongest idea you can that we can do? Like perhaps, and also might be worth exploring other things. But that's just using the knife tool. Now keep in mind, this is all sliced up now. So the only thing that's going to put it back together is Command Z or undo, right? Because it's all sliced up and it's permanently sliced. So that's one where, if I wanted to, keep an intact version, I might pull it off to the side like I did before. But you can take this and modify it in any number of ways. And that's just you can use the Pathfinder tool, the knife tool, and there are a million Illustrator tutorials about how to modify vectors or artwork in Illustrator. Okay, so this being a clearly not finished and no sort of idea really happening here. In fact, it's quite the opposite of these words. Let's say let's pretend I have my art set up and I'm fine here and I want to print it. Just as a reminder, I'll go to, first thing I'm going to do is save the thing, right? And I would save things consistently, okay? I always save onto my computer. You can save to the cloud, but I always like to have it on my computer, or I put it on a device, or I email it to myself or something. I don't rely on the cloud always, especially if you're saving things from school. So I hit save on my computer and put it where I want it. And then when I get used to saving consistently all throughout, Command S, Command S, Command S. It's just, it'll save you headache in the end. And then if you just go to Command P, we remember, okay, I have a 6x6 square, but I didn't put any border around it, anything. So the first thing I'm going to do wherever you're printing is you're going to make sure your printer is selected. This Epson Artisan 1430 is my home printer. This Epson, this is a state printer, SDSU. And this may be as well. But anyway, this may be a city, I don't remember. But regardless, pick the one that you're going to print to. You select that. I always go to page setup also and make sure it's selected in there as well. I find that, okay, I'd look and see, okay, that's set up at portrait. It's set up at the right paper size. And then I'm going to hit OK. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to marks and bleed. And I'm going to go to trim marks. And I'm going to hit print. And when I print it, it's going to come out with trim marks, which is going to be useful for me to be able to go in there and just cut it out in the way that I need it. So that's great. And then the other thing I'm going to do is that when I finally get to this process done, when it's the final due date, the day before or whatever, before you submit your work, you have your printouts and they're trimmed out. And you're also going to have all of your items for your process included. So any photos or sketches, photos of sketches you've done, word lists, those kind of things. Make sure they're all, you have them scanned or photographed, and you're going to put them all in a document, in a PDF file. And we'll look at how to create a PDF file from multiple files. But for now, you would also save this as. So you save it as an Illustrator file, and then I would save it on my computer, and I would save it as an Adobe PDF, wherever I want to put that. And that will be, I'll have my PDF version of it. I'll have my Illustrator version that I can jump in there and edit still. You can edit your PDF as well if you drag it right into Illustrator, but that's just to be safe. Have your AI version and your PDF version, and make sure you use your trim marks for printing, and that should get you where you need to be. All right, any questions, let me know, and we'll see you next week.